Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So, Diamond Art Gifts contacted me. Now, it's been a while ago. I've honestly had this for a hot minute. It took me forever to do this, but I was able to select a couple diamond dots and I got two of them. And it did take me a while because this is like, I mean, I know I did that cross one not too long ago, but that was nothing in comparison to this. There had to have been tens of thousands of drills that I had to put on this. So it did take forever. However, of course, because you know me, I've got to go with the biggest. And I found this elephant one and it is absolutely stunning. Like, it is so beautiful. I'm so in love with it, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, I did get some extra little tools and all of that stuff with it, and a red panda one, which at the moment I cannot for the life of me find. It's in that secret safe place that I can never remember where it's at. Now, these are some extra like bits and bobs and stuff, like different tools that you can use for the drills that give you where you can actually select more than one. However, me being me, I put them on individually because that's how I like to roll. Anyway, so we're going to open this up and I'm going to do just a few because like I said, it took me months to do this. Now, granted, I couldn't sit there and do it for, 8 hours a day because then you guys wouldn't have had any videos, but just look at this. Look how beautiful this is. So we are going to have some fun with this. I'm going to do this and then we're going to have some fun and we're going to play around with some resin. Now, if you've never done a diamond dots before, they go by numbers, colors, whatever. It depends on the brand. And you get these little drills, and these are as varied as anything else. You can get special size drills, special shape drills. You can get circles, you can get squares, you can get, some of them are actually like rhinestones that have like that crystal look to it, like you can actually see through, and some like these are actually completely like opaque and they're just little round drills that you put on, and they do have like the edges are cut a little bit, so they do have that diamond kind of look to it when you move it around. And then you just go and buy the key that's on the side there. You just go and you put them on, and it's got an adhesive on the back, where your actual painting is. Now, I would recommend you keep the plastic that I have on here on it until you're done, because you don't want like dust and stuff like that, hairs and all that fun stuff floating in and sticking onto it and ruining the stickiness of it and, fighting with that. So I did keep the plastic sheet on mine the entire time. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I do like doing them. Uh Not necessarily under pressure like time restraints for a video because, it, like I said, it did take me quite a while, but it is something where you can do it and just kind of be, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of let your mind kind of just drift and wander, and it's relaxing, and I had a really enjoyable time doing it. Like, I really truly did. And I love watching it come to life. Now, the one thing that is annoying is when you're looking for a particular color, because I did it certain things at a time, and you're looking for a certain color and you think that you got them all and you put that color away and then you didn't. Yeah, it's a whole thing. All right, so back to the video and off of me rambling. I decided that I want to resin this. Now, I know most of you are like, oh, but you're going to ruin the effects and yada, yada, yada. Okay, yeah, maybe. But these are different drills than like what I did on the cross. And I'm okay with that because I want to try something different. So what I'm using right now for the resin is I'm using some of Let's Resin's The Fast Cure. Now, I want it super thick because I'm just kind of applying it over the drills. And the reason I'm doing this is that I'm going to make a, or I'm going to attempt to make a frame, freehand, no mold, no nothing on this. So I want to get all of these drills completely resined on first, and I'm probably going to do a couple of coats just to make sure that this part is completely done. Now, the issue that I have with it is when it comes to you in the mail, it's like, it's kind of folded up. You saw how when I opened it, it's folded. So if there is any way before you get to this point, like if you decide that you want to do this, before you get to this point, honestly, maybe even before you put your drills on, make it flat, like completely flat. I don't know, put some heavy books on it or something to get those kind of creases out of that canvas that's on it, so that you don't have the waviness that I do end up having in this project. Like, it's not 100% totally flat, and that's my fault. I should have done something in the beginning, but I didn't, and by the time I kind of got done with it, it was too late. I don't know. But I am using my spatula right now, and I am just running this carefully over all of these drills in this whole painting. Now, I am trying to be careful not to go over onto the side of the canvas, just over where the drills are. And you do want to be careful. I did have a few that popped off that I had to go back and place on. All right, so 24 hours later, now what I want to do is, before I go any farther with this, now I did put 2 coats on, okay? But before I go any farther, I want to map out the frame on here. And I'm going to use this canvas that's back here as kind of a background for the frame itself. And I'm just going to measure how wide I want it all the way around this entire thing. Draw a line so that I know where I'm going to put the edges of my frame so that it is as straight and even as possible. So that's really all I'm doing right now. And then we're going to crack out our Let's Resin hand painted resin. That's what I want to use. It says that you can pipe with it. I've played around with it in some other videos, and I want to see if I can actually make a frame with this. Now, granted, it's not going to be like a wooden frame or anything like that, but I want to see what I can do with this product, like how it's going to work in something like this, because we all know I can't just use regular resin. Even a fast cure, as thick as it is, I'm not going to be able to use that and make the lines and keep the lines there without it running and self-leveling and all this other stuff. So I want to see if this hand-painted resin is going to do what I need it to do for this particular project. So that's what we're going to do. As soon as I kind of get these lines in, and then we're gonna go over it some more with some more resin, but this is what I'm doing now. All right, well, I guess that I decided to do the second coat of resin after I drew the lines. So I didn't have 2 coats on before. I just lied, I guess. I don't know. But I'm doing the same thing. It is the fast cure resin that I'm using for this. And because I don't want it to run everywhere, I want it to be thick already. I'm not necessarily worried about bubbles because it's such a thin layer that I'm putting on here that bubbles aren't going to be a problem, right? And I am going to hit it with the heat gun. Now, I am being careful, not as careful this time as I was the first go around with the heat gun, because you don't want to heat it up so much that that adhesive that's on there that's holding those drills on, you don't want to heat it up so much that it's going to kind of like melt it and your drills are going to come loose as you're going over it with this little spatula thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's not as dire in this one, except for there were a few parts in it that didn't get resin like I wanted them to in that first coat because of the bumps and lumps and stuff like that from it being folded. But I'm hoping that I can put some more on it, and I am stretching it out and holding the sides down with stuff, but it's not as ideal as if you could. I don't know if you can iron it though. That's the thing. Like, if you could iron it before you even start to apply the drills, maybe like on a very low setting. I don't know how that will affect the adhesive that's on the actual picture itself, like if you did it upside down. I'm not sure. Maybe something to play around with. on a like a small one. I wouldn't do it on a big one because if it ruins it, then that's all kinds of bad. But yeah, so just going over it again, I'm trying to make it as smooth and even and level as possible, and making sure all the drills are completely covered and that I don't have like a bunch of resin in one area and not in the other. And then we're going to let this dry. And then once this is done drying, then we're going to come in with the hand painted resin. And here we are now. I'm just mixing it up now. I just decide that I'm going to go black for the outline of my frame. We're going to do something kind of neat on the inside, but I figure black will go with that background color of the picture as opposed to anything else. So I just took a tiniest little bit of Rolio deep black pigment paste, mixed it in with my hand painted resin, and now we're going to put it in a piping bag. Now, I went out and separately, you get in the kit, you get piping bags from Let's Resin. I did go and I bought the really cheap, like $2 piping, like for cakes, piping tools for this because I tried it before without it, right? Just going with the bag, and I suck. Like, I can't decorate cakes to save my life. So this is gonna be, we'll see. But I did get the tips. So you can do that and they do work. Now, I just use the one that's just a circle because that's kind of what I need. I'm not doing anything fancy with it. At this point, I'm just trying to do a straight line, honestly. Now, with this, I only mixed up the tiniest little amount thinking that it would work, and I needed way more than what I had initially made. Like, I made enough that I could do one line. And yes, I know my lines are wonky. Like I said, I can't do a straight line to save my life. I will go back in after I kind of get my line completely connected from one point to the other and kind of straighten it up with either a Q-tip or a toothpick to kind of smooth out some of these lumps and bumps and to kind of like push my line because the resin's up higher, right? It's setting up high. So I'm kind of pushing my line into the direction I need to go where it's kind of a little wonky. Do you know what I'm saying? And then we're just going to go through it, and I'm going to do all the outer edges, and then I'm also going to do right up against the actual picture itself. And then we're going to do some stuff in the middle and add some colors in here and make it really cool and see what happens. Like, that's it, it's an experiment to see if we can do this. Now, the one thing I am a little worried about, and I don't know how it's going to react, is the background of this canvas where all of the like the pictures and the letters and stuff are. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to cover it up because I'm not making this frame like super thick and chunky like a traditional frame would be. It's maybe, I don't know, a millimeter two ish, if that, like deep. Like it's not super deep. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, all we can do is try and see how it works out. Now, hindsight is a wonderful thing. And had I thought about it before right this second, a good idea would have been to get out some acrylic paint and just paint the canvas, like the outside of the canvas before laying down the resin on it. This way I could get it all the same color. So I could have it all white and I wouldn't have to worry about making whatever I'm going to put on top of it opaque enough that it's not going to, I don't have to worry about it showing through. So you decide to try something like that, I would recommend doing that first. Also, another issue that I will have later on is cutting the excess canvas away from this. So it wants to like fray, you know how it gets, and you can get some parts of it off, but then you're left with these little edges. So I'm going to end up having to go back through and maybe get some, I don't know, some school glue or Mod Podge or something like that and kind of glue the edges along the backside, or maybe even take some resin and run it along those edges just to kind of get it to go down and be completely like invisible, because that was not fun. And the way, my lines aren't completely straight. I realized this. I knew it was going to be an issue to begin with. But like I said, it's something that I wanted to try. So with my lines not being completely straight, when I go to cut it, it's a little hard to cut when it's not straight, if that makes sense. You'll see towards the end of the video. But yeah, so all I'm doing is I'm just putting in my lines, going through. I want to say that it probably took a good 70, 80 milliliters of this hand painted resin to do this outline that I'm doing. I maybe not quite that much, maybe 60. I don't know. I had a little bit left over. I do know that I ended up just putting in another mold. But it did take a little bit. Like, it took more than what I thought. But I do, like, it is a huge frame. It's 45 by 40 centimeters. So whatever the inches are on that, I don't know. I don't know. But I am going and I'm putting that kind of diagonal line in there just to keep my corners looking like corners and giving them the illusion that it's an actual, like, a wooden frame type deal, how it would meet up. And yeah, I mean, it's easy enough that you can wipe off. Yeah, I stuck my hand in it. That you can kind of wipe it off where you don't want it and straighten it up. And it works really well. And it does have quite a long working time on it, honestly, which is great, especially when you're doing something kind of, I want to say detailed. It's detailed in a way, but not really. But it did take a while to do. So now that I've got my basic frame shape done, what I decided I want to do is I want to bring and pull out some of those pastel colors that are in this and put them into the frame. So I'm going to do these little kind of lines, and I'm not, I'm doing them in the same kind of direction ish, that from one side to the next, but I'm not like measuring or anything like that. And it just so happened that I have 5 little sections in each side that I'm going to use. So I'm going to let this dry. And after it dries, I'm going to mix up a tiny bit of resin and I'm just going to put a white background on there because I want to do glitter. I'm going to pull out 5 kind of pastel-y glitters that are in this and put them in, and it's just going to be in clear resin, but I needed to have a white background just in case the glitter kind of doesn't like fully cover everything, because I don't know, it might not. Like, I'm really worried about all of these, the dark print and the pictures and stuff in some of these areas, that I'm not going to be able to completely cover it up. So I thought that if I used a little bit of white resin in there, just with some white pigment paste, and I just put a little bit in, that maybe that would kind of cover it up enough so that when I go back in with my glitter afterwards, I'm not going to have an issue. We'll see. We'll see. Because like I said, I don't have a whole lot of room, and I do need to make room, keep room for the glitter. Like, I want it to be opaque with glitter. That's what I want, completely glittered off. But I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work out, honestly. So I'm just going through and adding just the tiniest bit of resin to each little sectioned off area of this frame. And then I'm going to take my silicone tool and make it go all the way to every edge of each of these areas. Now, the one thing that I start to notice is, especially on these ones that I'm working on now, is that this is where those lumps and bumps of the canvas being folded are starting to bite me in my ass because it's not even. It's not level, and the resin is going from one side to the other and not necessarily where I want it to be at all. And I can't add more to cover it up. Like you can see, it's already starting to move in some of these areas, and that print is showing through. This one in particular, with the picture back here, is one that I'm super worried about, and I can't add a lot to it because it's not up that high. Now, could I have gone in with another line of the hand painted resin? Probably, like to build it up higher. I probably could have done that, but my lines are not the greatest as they are. So I just feel like wonky lines on top of wonky lines would probably not have been a good thing to do. So I chose not to do it. And I'm just kind of cleaning off. I over poured in these two, and they're kind of running into that middle and covering up that middle line that I've got going on there. It ends up curing like that, but honestly, it's an easy enough fix. I'm just going to take a Sharpie marker and go back over it and make it black again, and it'll be fine. It'll all be fine. So we're just going to go over this. Now, I am just using regular Let's Resin, epoxy resin for this. I'm not using the Fast Cure or anything like that because I have something that it's gonna, I've got barriers. I've got the barriers from the hand painted resin, so I'm not worried about it going everywhere. And it should just kind of stay. I just gotta worry about me making a mess and getting white resin somewhere that I shouldn't, like on the picture or something like that, and not noticing it and it curing there. That would be all kinds of bad. And honestly, after doing it this way, I really, really believe that white paint down first would have worked way, way, way better because you could have done, multiple coats after it dried if it wasn't completely covering it, and you wouldn't get that discoloration that you're getting from the pictures popping through like you are here. Now, I mean, maybe I could have made the white a little bit more opaque, but I don't know that it would have made much of a difference, honestly, because of the thin amount that I have to put in there. I honestly think paint would have been a better way to go. And if I ever decide that I'm going to do this again, that's what I will definitely, definitely do. Another idea that you could do if you want more of a, say, sturdy frame is you could probably get some like jewelry wire, some thicker jewelry wire, and put that down first and then use your hand painted resin and go over top of it with that just to kind of give it that look. Like if you still wanted to go the resin route like this, but make it maybe even sturdier, that would be a good idea too. And then you can just kind of cover it up with this resin and it would work great. Anyway, so I'm going to finish this up here and then we're going to move on to the glitter. Now, for the glitters, I lied before. I didn't put it in resin. I forgot. That was my initial plan, was to resin it. And then I decided that it would be a better idea to mix it in with some gloss varnish. This way, I know that it's packed in there. I don't have to worry about the amount of resin going into those little holes. I can pack it. I can leave it, let it dry. I don't have to worry about it running out or anything like that, and go on with my life. Like, I can just do that. Now you can see how wonky, especially those bottom two left corners dried. Like it's bad. Hopefully I'll be able to pack this color in enough that you won't be able to see it. We'll find out. So I've got my 5 different colors and I just picked kind of like they're all pastels. A pastel, pink, orange, yellow, kind of like this greeny blue, and then a purple. Kind of works out like the colors of the rainbow. I've got 5 colors, but they're all very, very close to the colors that are in this elephant picture. So it's going to look cool. And I'm just going to go around in the same order all the way around so that no of the same colors are touching. And we're just going to do it like a rainbow. So I'm just going to kind of put it in as thick as I can without going over top of that hand painted resin, and just kind of see what happens. Now, again, this is where the paint would have been a better idea, because there are still some spots that you can kind of see that discoloration. It's a little bit darker than what it should be under there. I mean, it is what it is. Overall, I don't think it's horrible. I think it turned out pretty cool and I like it. Is there like a lot of things I would do differently? Absolutely. And I learned a lot from it, but I don't hate it, if that makes sense. Like, I could have done it better, know what to do and what not to do next time. So, yeah. But I do think that it comes out really cute, and I do really, really like these glitters going around the outside edge of it. I think it just adds that little bit of extra something something to it, and I think it's just really, really pretty. Like, I like it a lot. I do. But yeah, so I'm just going to go through this. Now, I did leave this to dry overnight because I packed it in so thick with the glitter and the gloss varnish that I didn't want to put resin on it without letting it dry for a good 24 hours, because I didn't want any issues of it possibly not being dry and still being damp and then messing up the resin, because I am going to top coat this entire thing, frame and all, with a top coat. So I just want to make sure that there's no dampness in there, no moisture in there whatsoever to mess up my resin. Okay, so I'm just about done with this. We're going to let this dry 24 hours later. Now, for this, I am using Let's Resin coating resin. It's another super thick viscosity resin that's just for thin layers of your top coats and stuff like that. So I thought that this would work really well, because I do want to take it all the way over to the edge of the frame itself and into the other parts, and I'm hoping that I can get it to level out a little bit more. Hopefully, we'll see. But I'm going over with my spatula again, just like how I did it the first two coats that I put over here. And I mixed up around 150 milliliters of the resin for this. And it's not a super thick level layer. Like, it's not. However, upon doing my glamour shots, and I didn't realize this until I was doing them, there are a couple of areas on the left-hand side of this frame that I missed somehow. So I am going to have to go over it with another coat of it, and it's fine. It really is. The only thing that hopefully won't be an issue is the fact that I've already cut that excess frame, the excess canvas from around the frame. But anyway, we'll see. And that's what I'm doing now. I mean, it did. And like I said, it does have the wobbles in it. It is what it is. A lot of hindsight would have made this better type deals. But you got to learn somewhere. So anyway, I'm going to cut this off, and then I'm going to get you guys the glamour shots. Again, I do know that I need another top coat, that there are holes in it. I think it turns out pretty. Because I know I have to top coat it, I'm not going to put any hanging device on it yet for the glamour shots. I'm going to wait until it's completely done. Honestly, what's best for this to hang it with, especially because of the wobbles in it, will be just some double-sided, like, what is it, 3M or M3, that wall hanging stuff that you can get, I think will be best for this particular one. Now, could you resin the back? Sure, if you want to. I don't know that it's necessarily going to make a difference, but here we are. Anyway, that's a wrap on this one, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. I will see you guys Friday for that collab video. Don't miss this one. It's going to be great. Love ya. Bye.